265 world leaders, including heads of states, have been invited for Bola Tinubu's inauguration next Monday. The inauguration program, which starts yesterday with the investiture of Bola Tinubu with Grand Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, and the Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima as the Grand Commander of the Order of Niger. Already, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair on Tuesday paid a visit to the President-elect at Defense House Abuja and commended Tinubu's campaign focus on key areas of security, economy, agriculture, and power, describing the intertwined nature of the areas as critical to the development of any society. Also, President Joe Biden of the United States has announced a delegation that will attend the inauguration of President-elect Asiwaju Tinubu. So joining us later on the show for a chat on the inauguration ceremony of program of Tinubu and Shettima in Abuja and what Nigerians expect from the incoming administration, joining us now, I should say, is Christopher Tarka, Deputy Secretary, APC Presidential Campaign Council and Chief of Staff to Honorable Minister, Senator George Akume, Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs. Great to have you. So let us talk about all of the pomp and the pageantry that comes with events like this. Can you give us a breakdown of what happened yesterday and the investiture and also the concert?
Okay, thank you very much. The inauguration ceremony started yesterday with the conferment of honors upon the president-elect and the vice president-elect. There were a lot of dignitaries there to watch, and that kick-started the whole event. We are going to gradually go into the dinners from the various support groups from other organizations and the dinner properly. Today we have the Jumat prayers, Friday prayers. Sunday, we have the prayers for the Christians, and then we kick into the grandstand itself, which is going to be at the Eagle Square. It involves the parade, the handing over ceremonies, the handing over of the flags, the lowering of the old flag by the old president, the receiving of the new flag by the new president, and of course the parade itself. And then we have the dinner later, and then also award of honors later on Sunday. But on Monday, basically, is the focus where every Nigerian is going to be watching the ceremony to see the change of guard from the old president to the new president. But I use the change of guard loosely because it is a continuation from one government to another, from one APC government to another APC government. So I think Nigerians are ready to see this transition. It's a wonderful transition, and I think it's going to be a glorious next 3-4 days.
Well, Mr. Tarka, yesterday, the president-elect and the vice president-elect received the national honors of GCFR and GCUN, respectively. And many Nigerians have always questioned this. They ask, why is it that before people even start the job, they are given the highest honors in the land? I know that this is a tradition consistent with the Honors Award Act of 1963, but I would like you to take us through, all of that. And then secondly, the U.S. is sending a 9-man delegation, but that 9-man delegation is going to be led by the Secretary in charge of Housing and Urban Development. From a diplomatic point of view, given Nigeria's strategic importance, don't you think that that's some kind of snub? I thought that the lowest position that we could probably accept from the U.S. should be the Secretary of State, sending, a Secretary in charge of Housing and Urban Development. Don't you think Nigeria should have said no? Can you send us the Secretary of State himself along with others? What do you think? Those two issues.
Okay, let me first of all start with the conferment of national honors. Like you rightly pointed out, it's a tradition that has been in existence. But understand also that to aspire and to get to the highest level, it's an achievement. It's an achievement. It's a conferment of trust by Nigerians or to the president-elect. So I see nothing wrong with the president-elect or the vice president-elect being conferred with honors. That positions them as the highest honors, holders of honors in the country. Know that other people have honors too. It's just like you're elevating maybe during the military area when you had a head of state, you would take maybe a 2-star or 3-star general and make him a 5-star general. I look at it from that point of view. So I see nothing wrong really in what was done. It's a ceremony that bestowed a high honor on the incoming president, and I didn't see anything wrong with that. Secondly, on the issue of representation or the composition of whoever is coming from the United States of America and the Secretary of State Housing leading the delegation. You have to understand that every nation has its own peculiarities. Every nation has its own protocols. For me, I see nothing wrong with that because he is not coming in his capacity as the Secretary of State of Housing. He is coming in his capacity as the representative of the President of the United States of America. And thereby, has at that post there, is going to be seated where the President of the United States of America is going to be seated. So we are seeing the President of the United States of America at the inauguration ceremonies represented by the Secretary of State Housing. So there is nothing that should be looked at as a slight. It's not a slight. We don't know the complexities of what is happening in America and why Biden could not travel even for the ceremony of the coronation of Prince Charles. He sent a representative, but it didn't lower anything. It didn't mean anything. It didn't mean that the UK or the Prince or the King Charles was being looked as being a lesser person. Nigerians should learn to understand that sometimes protocols change and other protocols comes because of events that are happening worldwide. So I think it's in order that the President of the United States will honor Nigeria by sending...
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Tarka, there's also something called international posturing and protocols. And please, how do you explain a country that was so rich before that the first trip that was made to America by a Nigerian leader, that was Tafawa Balewa, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. It was the Vice President of America, Lyndon Johnson, that came to welcome him at the airport. So that same country, that when our leader went in the 60s on assumption of independence, that same country that the Vice President of America can come and welcome our leader at the airport has now become a country that during the inauguration of his president, no top officer, like even the Secretary of State, can come. It is now the Secretary of HUD, as they call that department in America. They call it HUD, all right? Urban Development and Housing and all of that. So, and you say there's nothing we should be awry about?
You said something, and let me point out, let me fair. You said the late Tafawa Balewa, the Prime Minister of Nigeria, when he visited America in the 60s, was received by the Vice President of America. You didn't say he was received by the President of America. He was received by the Vice President of America.
At the airport, but it was... No, let me finish.
Yes.
He was received by President Kennedy. There was a state visit. You can go and check on YouTube the full visit. It was a state visit. It was well received. People lined up on the street. But just welcoming him at the airport alone, the Vice President, the number 2 man of America, was there with him. Then afterwards, he went to receive President Kennedy. Another thing you can go and check for history, sir. You know, the first communication, satellite phone communication among 2 leaders in the world was between Tafawa Balewa and President Kennedy. That was the first conversation. In fact, the transcript of the conversation, you need to hear the cordiality among both presidents. So what happened to that same nation we know? Because this was the same nation we loved so much and we dearly adored.
Again, I will repeat again what you're saying. You are stating a point about a visit from our Prime Minister at that time to the United States. I was going to make a statement. I said recently, at I think the inauguration of the Kenyan president, it was not our president that went. It was our vice president. Should Kenyans look that Nigerians don't hold them in high regard? No, it's not so. It's not so. I think sometimes we make a big protocol about these things that we shouldn't. I know and I feel very confident that the American government has a high regard for Nigerians based on the congratulatory messages that have come through. When our president goes to visit Nigeria, the United States of America, I don't think you're going to have the Secretary of State or even the Vice President coming to welcome him. You're going to see the protocols will change. There are orders of protocol. There are exigencies of government, things that may be happening at that time. We don't know. But I am not looking at this as a slight. I repeat again, he is coming in his capacity as the representative of the President of the United States of America. As such, he will be seated as the President of the United States of America, not as a Secretary of State, please.
Mr. Tarka, don't let's split hairs over this. Protocol and etiquette is part of the responsibility of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So it's for them to work it out. But I will be surprised if on Inauguration Day, we only have a collection of 10 secretaries and charge d'affaires ad interim at the occasion. So, but let the Ministry of Foreign Affairs worry about that. We'd like you to give us more details about the inauguration, particularly with regard to security arrangements. We're told that, look, you know, the security agencies are already making sure that nobody disrupts the process. If you could tell us some other details, what will happen on Inauguration Day and the preparations in that regard, including the pepper soup and jollof rice event, post-inauguration dinner.
You're sitting in Lagos.
You people have not sent me an invitation, by the way.
I will make sure your card gets to you. I'll make sure your card gets to you so that we'll be here to partake in the pepper soup and, and all the other things. No, but I'm not a member of the security committee, but I know that the security agents, the security command have been on high alert. They have made sure, just as they've done in other times at inaugurations, to make sure that everything goes smoothly. It's a strictly by invitation affair. So they've made arrangements whereby there's going to be a drop-off and a pick-off point for all the invited guests. And of course, there's going to be screening. It's normal. It's just normal that when you have invited guests, dignitaries from other parts of the world, we owe it to them as a duty to make sure that their people are safe here. We don't want an incident that we put Nigeria in a bad light in terms of harm coming to any of the dignitaries. So the security is well set. Everything is put in place, and as I said, it's strictly by invitation. And the arrangements have been made to convey the invitees to the venue and back again. So I don't think there's going to be a problem. Same thing for the dinner. It's by invitation. And that's why I said we will make sure that you get your card. And I wish I could say that I could put a private jet to bring you quickly to Abuja, but I'm sure you'll find your way here once you get your card.
Oh, God.
All right. Okay. So, I mean, we've talked about that. We've talked about all the celebrations that will go on this weekend leading up to the beginning of a new era. But quickly, I know you're from, obviously, your name gives you away. We all remember the famous, Tarka's out of Benue. So let's go back to Benue a little bit. Let's talk about Benue. You know, how did the APC wriggle themselves around winning Benue? I mean, I think a lot of people have said that's a master class, And what would you like to say about all the insecurity and the killings going on in Benue?
Okay. First of all, I think I want to thank Almighty God for the victory that APC got in Benue State. I think it's this victory, it's a vote of confidence in the incoming governor, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia. It's a vote of confidence in the incoming president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It's a vote of confidence in the APC itself and what the APC has to offer going forward from here. So Benue people the voting in Benue was across party lines. It wasn't APC to APC. It was across party lines. So it's confidence in the candidates that we presented this time around that brought that victory. And we worked hard. The truth be told, we worked hard. Other people may say otherwise. People may say we rigged. There was nothing. We worked hard. We were coming as an opposition party. We were coming as underdogs. But we worked hard, and the people had confidence in what we were doing and who we were bringing, and they voted for them. So we thank God for that. And I know that the people of Benue are excited. They're looking forward to what's to come. And we know that we are going to deliver. This administration will deliver on all its promises to the people of Benue State. Talking of insecurity, you see, when you talk about insecurity in Benue State, we need to look at it from a global perspective. We have problems globally. We have problems all over the world that border insecurity. And because Nigeria lives in a global village, these things eventually will impact onto us. We have the crisis in Libya, which migrated to Mali, which eventually has migrated into Nigeria. Because we're a big nation with big borders, like our president said, our borders are a little bit porous, let me not say a little bit. We have all sorts of people coming into Nigeria, posing all sorts of threats. I know government has been trying very hard to arrest the situation. The issue in Benue has been basically the issue of two people who have been long-time friends, and some little misunderstandings have happened. You know, Benue in the 60s is not Benue in 2023. We've grown bigger, the population has grown, there's more demand on the land, and anybody coming to encroach into the land or try to get into the land, obviously we're going to tread on each other's foot. But I think to a very good point, issues have been managed, and I think it's going to get better. I happen to be on a committee, a peace committee that was set up by the Honorable Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, Senator Dr. George Akume, to make sure that all parties came and sat down. We've been meeting in Abuja, sit quietly. We have not made noise at our meetings. We have tried to understand the problems, the immediate and remote causes of the problems, and we have tried to address them. And we are going to address them. This incoming government is going to make sure most of these issues are addressed. But like I said, there's huge demand on land. And when there's huge demand on land, we're going to step on each other's toes. And misunderstandings will arise. It's sad about the killings. It's regrettable. No human life should be lost for any reason. Not one life should be lost for any reason. It's happened. We're trying to address those issues.
Well, on that note, we'd like to thank you very much, Mr. Christopher Tarka, for joining us on the morning show. Thank you very much.